Well, this video of mine aged like milk. Isn't that fascinating? Anyway, the Wade Whipple, Knuckles, with quotations, TV show is here, even though it was supposed to come out last year, but got pushed to this year for no reason. TBH, I didn't really go into the show expecting to be blown away by the things I've witnessed on my TV screen, because after a couple of weeks before the show launched, my hype for it was slowly dying down. To sum it up, I desperately wanted to stop and give this show the biggest middle finger possible after watching the first half of episode 2, but I just had to sit through the rest of it so I can actually speak of this show and give my full thoughts after watching the whole damn thing. And all I have to say is, what a waste. I literally almost missed a college class for this. You wanna know what's funny? Before we got the first trailer of Knuckles, most of us thought that the show wasn't going to be anything too special, as by the short synopsis of it, it was saying that Knuckles was gonna train Wade Whipple, or whatever. Then when we finally got a glimpse, I thought I stood corrected by saying that the show wasn't gonna be anything special and that we could actually be in for something good. Or so we thought. All I'm gonna say is that this trailer from 2 months ago certainly did a good job at tricking the viewer into thinking that this was gonna be a good series. Watching the episodes, it's really hard to think that this series has any sort of involvement with the first 2 Sonic movies, because it feels like I'm watching something completely different that doesn't have any sort of relationship with those films. Oh yeah, and did I mention that the song Holding Out for a Hero plays during a scene? Yes, that song that also happened to play in the Mario movie also rears its ugly head in a Sonic product as well. For some reason, not a lot of people are talking about that. I wish all of you were able to see the look of disapproval on my face when I heard that first note. If you thought that song had no reason to appear in the Mario movie originally, then you're for sure to think the same thing here, but 10 times as bad. Like, is that the only song people think when seeing action scenes for movies now? It was fine in Shrek 2. In the Mario movie, it was just meh and could have easily been replaced with an original song made for the scene, but as for the Knuckles show, it had absolutely no reason to be there. Also, not one episode got me to smile or say something good about. I completely don't want to talk about the stuff that happened in the episodes because it'll make this video too long and boring, just like the show itself. But I guess I should give a brief synopsis of what goes on down in the show. So, the show basically takes place after the events of movie 2 and before the insanity we're sure to see in movie 3. Knuckles tries to make himself at home, or in any case, prepare himself for his next battle while keeping his promise to Sonic and Tails to protect the Master Emerald and keep their new home safe. And Pachacamac shows up for like 1 or 2 scenes in this entire 6-episode story and serves little to no purpose whatsoever. For any noob that doesn't know who he is, he's basically the leader of an Echidna tribe that tries to steal Sonic's power and gain the Master Emerald. For the games and movies, they kinda tried giving different sides of the story to what actually happened during the Echidna tribe. In the games, the Echidna tribe just randomly vanished out of existence in Mobius, aside from Knuckles, of course, after facing off against Perfect Chaos. But in the movies, they vanished after a battle against something. It was never fully established on who the clan lost to in the movie universe, for some reason. For all we know, it could have also been Perfect Chaos, but we can't be so sure because we don't know if there's a Chaos in the movie universe. Missed opportunity. So you'd think that with a character as interesting as Pachacamac, they would have given him a big role in the show, where the main character's name is literally on the title and only survivor from said Echidna clan, I assume. You'd also think that they would expand the amount of Sonic characters we could have gotten, like Tikal, the Chaotix, or even Rouge, right? Wrong! They do none of that. They make the show mostly based around Wade trying to get himself to be as strong as Knuckles. And from what I remember, Pachacamac told Knuckles that he could train Wade into becoming a warrior, like him. Yeah, that happens right after a scene with Wade losing to a Girl Scout in bowling and then gets kicked off his team afterwards. Pachacamac also appears in another scene at the bowling alley, and again, he adds nothing to the plot and is just there for people to go like, "Oh my god, it's him! That's the guy!" And then these 2 gun agents get on their tail and try to steal Knuckles' power and sell it on eBay or something. Any reason why they were mainly going after Knuckles and not Sonic, who's basically the captain of their team? I don't really know why they decided to go after Knuckles and not Sonic. That's how boring the plot of this was. But while Knuckles trains Wade Whipple, they decide to head on over to the Whipple family because I guess being with your family is the safest thing to do when you're a fugitive from the law. And there's a big battle at the end between the Beard Fellow and Wade along with Knuckles. Yeah, I'm bored to death of talking about the synopsis of this show that I just want to get back to trash talking it. I don't really care how many action scenes there were here, none of them were fun to watch. A battle sequence needs to be well fleshed out and properly paced in order for others to be interested. There's nothing fleshed out or properly paced in this 3-hour-long series. I shit you not, episode 3 is literally just the Whipples and Knuckles having dinner for the majority of the beginning, and they don't stop talking! Plus, Sonic, Tails, and Pretzel Lady were just swiped out of existence after the first episode. Tails in particular only had like 3 or 4 lines for the majority of it. It makes you wonder why they bothered giving these 3 speaking roles if they were just going to be snubbed after the first half of episode 1. Donut Lord doesn't even show up, which I thought was pretty stupid since he's a way better character than Wade ever will be. Donut Lord, along with a few others, are like the only human characters in the entire franchise that actually matter and are cool. Wade is practically nothing but a lifeless and uninteresting character. Like, who the hell is ever gonna say Wade is their favorite Sonic character? Tell me that right now. Not just that, but Knuckles, the guy whose name is literally on the title of this spin-off series, has little to no impact on 90% of the things that happen in this show. He doesn't even appear that much. His screen time is so limited that every time he shows up, it feels like a straight-up cameo. Episode 4, from what I remember, only has Knuckles on screen for the beginning and end only. Why is it called Knuckles? He doesn't matter in this whole entire show! But seriously, how on earth did we go from these 2 masterpieces to this sad excuse for a sitcom? And what makes you think a character as triumphant as Knuckles could get along with someone as laid back as Wade? The only thing that their dynamic has going for it is that both of their fathers abandoned them as a kid, from what I remember. And ever since the show released, most people have just been speculating that it's the worst piece of Sonic media. Well, I'm here to say that that statement is incorrect, because I think Knuckles is the most boring piece of Sonic media. If you really want the worst piece of Sonic media, then go play Sonic Jam on Gamecom or Sonic Free Riders. It's nearly impossible to call the family dinner show Sonic media because of how little Sonic there is in it. And you're not gonna believe this? They named an entire episode after Iblis, and it was called The Flames of Disaster. But did they at all reference or acknowledge 06 in that episode? Of course not. It also really doesn't do much to forward the cinematic universe of Sonic aside from giving Knuckles a companion, which he arguably didn't even need. Wade's family, especially his sister, I don't remember her name, are uninteresting and don't really have any reason to be here aside from being the comedic relief, which they fail at. Seriously, why should we care about these characters? No offense to the actors, but what they were given to work here did not make the cut. All the villains were lame and equally uninspired. And here's the thing, normally I love when they add new villains in the Sonic series, but most of the villains we ran into before had unique designs, interesting backstories, and overall do a good job of cluing you in on the fact that they mean business. But here you just have generic British lady and Kid Cudi along with that guy with the beard whose name I also forgot because of how forgettable he was. Even Infinite mattered more as a villain than these guys ever will. I'm literally saying a good thing about Sonic Forces. That's how much of a letdown the Wade show was. Again, no offense to any of the actors, directors, or producers of the show, of course, but the final product is a huge offense. And you know what? I speak for all of us when I say that we were way too harsh on Season 3 of Prime, because while the show definitely slipped during the end, at least it kept me intrigued in the beginning half of it. But this show, I desperately wanted to stop after episode 2, but I tortured myself to sit through all 6 episodes that were a half-hour long. I'm sorry that I did you dirty, Prime. But yeah, everybody I spoke to seems to be in agreement that this show was god-awful. But IGN? They have other ideas, as usual. They gave this show an 8 out of 10, and that's not even the craziest part. The episode that Knuckles doesn't actively appear in has the highest score from them. Shit like this just further proves the point of how rotten and despicable IGN will always be in terms of giving feedback to the Sonic series. And apparently most critics seem to have liked the Family Dinner show from what I've been seeing so far. And I don't know about all of you, but this has me slightly concerned for Sonic Movie 3. I mean, Knuckles focused way too hard on the human characters of the show instead of dissecting more of Knuckles' lore. That begs a question. What exactly is so special about these characters that we're supposed to give 2 fucks about? Like, imagine if Shadow screen time in Movie 3 is also dumbed down by the amount of human stars that'll for sure be in the films just to grab the adults' attention. Knuckles overall feels like a more dumbed down version of Sonic Movie 1. True, Sonic 1 did focus a little too much on the human and real-world side of things, like every other cartoon character in the real-world adaptation, but at least it wasn't completely dragged down by stupidity and had a way better focus on the main character and villain. Plus, I actually cared about the things that Tom and Maddie were going through. It overall had more faith and heart put into it. I wish I could say the same for Knuckles. You expect me to believe that Sega themselves did a way past better job at portraying Knuckles' character in the Sonic Frontiers animated prologue Divergence than Paramount ever will? After literally giving us 2 of one of the best films based off a video game franchise? I honestly have no idea how they were able to make that trailer look so exciting while using so little good footage of the show itself. And as I was planning out the script for this video, I was on the edge of my seat trying to think of something good that came out of this disgrace, and all I could think of was Idris Elba's performance as Knuckles throughout the show. That's it. Knuckles is not a so bad that it's funny kind of ordeal, it's just flat out terrible, and I would not recommend it to anyone or anything. The series just falls in the same category as Planet Sheen, The Patrick Star Show, and Cars 2, where they make a stupid spin-off or movie all about a secondary character and completely butcher it. You can thank Jaden for coming up with that elaboration. Overall, the show gets a 2 out of 10 and a D rank from me, and that's the highest I could ever give this. It's not the worst thing in the world, even though I made it seem like it was, but it promised way too much, and in the end, what we saw and thought about it before release really oversold it. Whew, it sure feels good to get all of that off my chest. But anyway, thank you guys for watching, comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed, and have a nice day.